How's it going, guys? And welcome back to Retrospect, your go-to retro gaming podcast. You're listening to episode 37. Today, we'll be talking about all things Evercade. And joining me on the mics, as always, we have the man who kills with kindness, Brandon Saltalamacchia. Brandon, what's up, dude?
Hello. All good. Which is, I just need to mention that we just got back from OLL, which I actually met Sean for the first time. Very odd how we got you in for the podcast, scheduled it up, and then a couple of days before I meet you face to face. It's always lovely to meet people.
The Retrospect way. Yeah, Sean, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for being on.
Thank you very much for having me. And yeah, it is always interesting because whenever there's events going on, normally in the UK, because we haven't seen anybody for 3 or 4 years in person because of everything that's happened, it's kind of like, let's get to every event that we can. Even if we're not there for like exhibiting, let's just go and say hello. And yeah, they're just conveniently, just like you were there, quite a few other people there as well. And it was, it's a fun time and good to actually, like, I say, put faces to names. Like, it's not really a thing you do in the 21st century because we all have social media unless you're an egg. So it's
unless you're an egg. We're talking about potatoes earlier.
Yeah, it's all the foodstuffs.
Yeah, I always struck because what I felt, like you said, I haven't been to events for ages, and now that we've got a new video producer on, we're kind of using it as one of our strategies to just get out more and meet more people, do face to face and film. And I kind of went there thinking people would like slightly recognize me, but I speak to them usually with the Retro Dodo Twitter handle, so people don't actually know until you say or show your logo. And I had no branding on as well, so it's the same with like some people that you talk to so much, and then they say their name, you're like, oh yeah.
So I've watched enough. I recognised. I saw you across a crowded room.
Across a crowded room. So what does OLL stand for? I was trying to find this out ahead of time, and I could not.
That's a question I also tried to find out this weekend, and I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's like a hangover of like online LAN or something like that, maybe from previous years. But yeah, it's a very interesting thing because it's not on any of the documents when you get the wristband. I mean, I think I still got the wristband here. Like I can't actually see anything on
online
it that actually tells you
local LAN party 2023 or something like that. Yeah,
it's got to be, and I think it's quite new, right, Sean? I've only ever been to this year, but
yeah, it's been at least a couple of years. I think they tried to do one a bit before the pandemic, and they restarted it up last year in January of all times, and had quite a success. And normally January is very bereft for events wherever you are in the world, so it's interesting to see that they managed to do that, then move it to after Easter this year as well, which, again, there's a big thing in the UK. I don't know if it's like that in the US when you've got PAX and things like that everybody seems to put events on bank holiday weekends, which is when everything is planned. Everything kind of shuts down, but all the events happen. So
I'm trying to remember. Yeah, so we have PAX East, PAX West, and then we used to have PAX South. I think that one still is going. There is no PAX North, sadly, and we used to have E3, sadly. R.I.P. to E3.
Yeah.
But yeah, those tended to be just I felt like at random times, not necessarily tied to a holiday, but that would be smart. I feel like planning events around a holiday maybe is a good thing, maybe not, because on one hand you're like, I wanted to use this for my own personal time, but now I need to go to this event, or vice versa. I don't have time, but now I actually have an excuse to go because it's on a holiday.
I was saying to people at the convention that the balance is right, because if you go to a lot of these shows, like in the UK, you have EGX and Insomnia, and same as PAX, they're normally 3 to 4 days, and if you're working them, it's normally 6 to 7 because you've got to get there the night before, set up, tear down the night that it ends. If it's over a bank holiday weekend, it's normally 3 to 4 days, and 2 days is just nice. It's nice to have like just concentrated into 2 days, get the best out of everything. Always a lot more fun.
Yeah, Agreed. It's like Disney parks. You don't want to spend too many days at just one. You gotta diversify. You gotta get in there, get out. You experience it in 2 days is just enough for one place. You're like, all right, I've seen everything I wanted to see. I'm good to go. Time to get out of here. Yeah. Well, cool. So, Sean, I did want to actually give you a proper introduction. So, folks who don't know, you are the marketing manager for Evercade. And we just talked about this ahead of time. You have classified yourself slightly as a potato, so bringing it all back to food again.
Yeah, that's true. It's not just the Irish blood in me. I am, in fact, at least 40% potato as I hit my middle age.
That is awesome. And if anyone's confused, you can just check out his Twitter threads, and you'll see what I'm talking about on there. That'll be a little bonus Easter egg for you guys.
Yeah.
You have a newsletter that you keep up to date for the most part. I was checking through some of those. Cleaver's newsletter of gaming and stuff. Very official title. I like that.
It's quite hard to come up with a newsletter title, because you go, oh, newsletter, and then you go, newsletter of, and then how do you encourage people into it? Because, I mean, there's me and quite a few other ex-journos or journos that are still practicing who do newsletters off of their own back just to keep their hand writing, and that's like one of the reasons I started it, really. And you end up getting the crossover of, I don't want to write about stuff that I work on all the time, but I also want to write about stuff. So it's kind of like, stuff,
just things,
stuff.
Just things. Yeah, that stuff encompasses everything. So that's really smart. That's a good idea. And then also, I should have had this ahead of the newsletter, but you are an ex-writer and game journo. So can you talk about that just a little bit, like your past experience and kind of what led you to Evercade?
I was a games writer. We always say games journalist, although the journalist, I think, is a very loose term when it comes to video games. A lot of it is critiquing opinion, lots of op-eds and stuff like that. So I started that around about 2011, 2012. I went to university late and sort of re-educated, and I was originally going to do sports journalism. That's where I wanted to aim for, and do radio, believe it or not. And then I fell into video games. And I love video games anyway. I'd always loved video games, but the sort of idea of writing about them hadn't really crossed my mind since the late 90s of being a PC Gamer subscriber. So kind of forged my own way, freelance for a while, started writing for sites like Vice and GameSpot, and then got a job working for a magazine. And at that point, the magazine closed. I sort of looked at everything that was going on and sort of went, might be at the top of where I can get to on the writing game without spending a lot of time and a lot of freelance energy doing stuff. And I transitioned into PR and marketing. I worked for a PC manufacturer for good 4 or 5 years over the pandemic, did some good stuff, and then Evercade appeared in my horizons.
Nice. Amazing. And so, go ahead, Brandon. Do you have a question?
Yeah, I was going to ask, did you ever do any work for Future Publishing?
I did. I was lucky enough, again, saying PC Gamer sort of started my interest in journalism. I actually managed to write for PC Gamer a preview of Motorsport Manager, I think it was, because racing games was one of my strong points when it comes to the sort of the styles of games, retro games, racing games, occasional space strategy games, and things like that. So, they got me on for that, and that was absolutely lovely.
Dang.
Nice. Back then, magazines were popping off, and it was the kind of evolution into online media as well. So you've seen things that I probably haven't, to be fair, and I've always wanted to see the transition. Because when I probably started working in the gaming industry when I was probably like 20, that was just as Future Publishing were getting rid of magazines and doing a load of redundancies, and now it's just there's not really many magazines around. You've got like Edge. I guess.
In this country, it's I think it's a lot stronger in other countries, but in the UK especially, I think you've got 3 major consistent magazines from Future. I think a lot of the independent press is now beginning to whittle down. We've just lost another PC magazine that was more hardware focused, has now gone online and sold from its owner. But we do have quite the resurgence of interest in these magazines that are being independently published. So just to throw out some names, that are people like Sega Power, Amiga Addict. And that also then goes into the books as well, and the things that that you guys have published with like the handheld history series and other kind of
this
stuff.
One at OLL.
Yes,
on the video.
Oh, nice.
Amiga Addict, and I think they've got another one called Pixel
Addict
as well.
Pixel Addict, very nice.
Yes, we will hopefully be speaking to them in future, given what we've got coming up as well. So.
Yeah, that seems to be kind of like the the move is like the indie publishing. And I wanted to mention this really briefly. It seems like you've kind of transformed in the way that most I feel like games writers or games journalists transition. Like they really like writing, they start, and then they're like, oh, PR and marketing also is like a really great setup. So I've seen a lot of people that have made that switch and really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think there's an element of creativity that kind of stays with you when you're doing PR and marketing, because a lot of the language is quite similar. A lot of the sort of styles of how you attack a project is quite similar as well. You can really get a briefing, you can get head down into it, and without blowing the trumpet of games journalists, for a lot of time there is a lot of good, very specific knowledge that is very difficult to acquire if you haven't been doing it for years or have been experiencing it. And I mean, it's very easy to sort of get some base knowledge about things by going through a Wikipedia or a YouTube or things like that and understanding it. But there's somebody that needs to be on the other side giving that information and giving the knowledge and the experience side. Right. So that's where I think the transition works quite well for a lot of people.
Yeah. Nice. All right, well, before we jump into the main topic of the show, we have a quick bit of housekeeping for you guys. So, Brandon, do you want to run through a handheld history really quickly? Yeah. I know we have a pretty fun announcement on that one.
Yeah, so we are fully funded now, which is exciting. We tried to tease some stuff at OLL this weekend, which was nice. So we're fully funded. That's all happening. I think there's probably maybe a week or two... I'm just going to say May the 5th, because I don't know when this is going to upload. May the 5th is the end of our campaign, which is the last time you can grab a deluxe edition. But there are standard editions being sold throughout the year with a target shipping of Q4. So you'll certainly get these before Christmas, which would be nice. And it's much thicker. It's close to 400 pages, weighs 2 kilograms if you want to use it as a doorstop, an expensive doorstop, I'll give you that, at 40 quid. But yeah, it's a phenomenal book that's going to grow the series, and check it out at handheldhistory.com if you're interested.
Yeah, check it out. Or Brandon, you also mentioned that the book would be really soft because it's so thick. You could it'd be great for padding and catching falling toddlers. That was the reference
use it as
last
a yoga
time.
mat if need be,
A yoga mat, or one of those bricks they use, like when they're doing like stretches. That'd be great.
Yeah.
But yeah, right into Retrospect at retrododo.com to let us know what you would like us to talk about, or if you have any questions, and then respond to our Spotify polls. We put those up every single week with the episodes, and I don't think I forgot to check for this episode, but that's a great place to put in questions and just reach out to us. And also check out cardgamer.com. Brandon recently announced that on Twitter. All Things Card Gaming, another sort of sister site / connection to Retro Dodo that'll, I think, fit nicely into what he already has going on at Retro Dodo. I don't know if there's anything else you want to say about that, Brandon, or we can just jump in.
You nailed it perfectly. Let's jump into All Things Evercade.
Yeah. So, Sean, first question on the docket for us. What is Evercade for those who have no idea? So
Evercade actually originally started as just being a single product, which is a handheld retro gaming device. The idea was that its unique selling point was it returned to cartridges as opposed to digital distribution or CD distribution. It was created really to recreate the classic gaming experience that people used to love and enjoy when they were younger. Having a physical card that you could take in and out of the machine, experience an unboxing part of it as well, with it being physical. So we would include manuals. We have special edition things which you guys can probably see behind me on the camera, which have numbered spines on them as well, so you can build a collection. And that was mainly the basis of it, really, is getting cartridges that people remembered of our own proprietary nature, and having a device that plays them on that just kind of works. It doesn't require a lot of difficult setup. It doesn't require a lot of difficult things in order to do. You just plug your cart in and go, effectively. And it was that kind of idea of that experience that sort of brought Evercade to the table. And since then, it's no longer just one product. It's expanded to be an ecosystem with nearly 50 cartridges. We'll hit that by the end of this year. And we'll we've got a VS console, which is a home console version, which HDMI's out to your computer, out to your television or monitor, which has support for up to 4 players of multiplayer, with the same kind of original games had. And the most recently released Evercade EXP, which basically replaces the original handheld, brings everything in line, and includes a few new features which the previous one couldn't do.
The jump from your first handheld to the Evercade EXP was very substantial in terms of quality, the materials used, I think, even, the button quality as well. I think you guys should be very, very proud of what you've created, because I'm in love with it, in combination with the whole kind of like resurrection of cartridges. It's just you're penetrating a niche which has very little competition at the moment, and you've made such a good product that I don't think anyone's going to come into that niche anytime soon. You've got Analog Pocket, but they're not selling the cartridges at all.
Yeah, I think that's something. I mean, I spoke to several people at OLL about this over the weekend and sort of explained it. Like, we are in a space that isn't particularly competitive in that sense that we have many competitors, but the retro gaming space is massive. There are lots of other products and other things out there with legal licensing and things that don't and everything else. And we've always seen ourselves not really as being a competitive device in that way. We've always seen ourselves as being complementary to everything else that's around, because everything exists. The publishers of original IP still release their stuff on the modern consoles like Xbox, PlayStation, Switch. You still have original hardware, you still have retro game collecting, you still have emulation devices and people that do their own things with their own libraries that they've collated over the years. We just slot in there as well and help support everything else within that retro space. And thank you for the kind words on the EXP. It's I think when we first started, not that it was seen as anything that was short term, but it was certainly seen as something that, as these devices normally do come out, they have like a 2-year lifespan and anything else like that. And the space as we did it massively changed because everybody started going either smaller or then going bigger and then having to use more premium components because of the reputation of everything that was going around on build quality and everything else. So by the time we got to look at the EXP and start creating that and designing that, I think we had a very good handle on what was possible and what we could do to go over and above in certain ways and make ourselves stand out across a very busy landscape. But
yeah, one thing that you mentioned that I feel like actually is a big selling point, or at least one part for me, was that feeling of actually playing on original hardware sort of translated to the Evercade, because a lot of people that I've heard talk about their digital libraries, because I think a lot of retro gaming now is through a digital sense. Now, again, you can't have the original hardware and set it all up, and you have to have a CRT to make it look good. And there's just a lot of components that kind of makes it a bit, I would say, difficult to get into. And then the digital side, again, it doesn't feel substantial because you're not doing anything. Like, it just feels like you're less connected sometimes because it is just like there. It just exists. You're like, okay, I don't really have a connection to this because it's just here. I just have it digitally.
That's something the pandemic kind of accidentally created as well, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at the stats nowadays of everything that's given from Yuki, who are the UK arm or non-profit who sort of help with regulation and statistics and everything else with video games, the amount of people that play video games now probably isn't that different from what it was 10, 20, 30 years ago. It's just that we didn't have a way to sort of look, to measure, to talk about it, and it was always seen as a hobby that was kind of like that. But now it's so mainstream and with everyone's realised that there is a connective part of their nostalgia, their memory. There's some kind of thing there to something that has happened over the last 40 years. It's a bit kind of like the whole where do you sit in the internet generation thing. I think there's where do you sit in a gaming generation thing as well. And when it comes to digital and a lot of different things like that, you do get it, but the connection isn't there. And even with devices and emulation, if you've got your own curated or your own collection that you've got, it's not very curated, and you end up with massive amounts of choice that just paralyze you out of wanting to do anything. And then you've got the final thing of a lot of the big publishers and a lot of the big manufacturers will dictate to you what your nostalgia is. For a lot of people, it might not be the first party games that came with the box. It might be other things that are completely forgotten that they rented every weekend for like a month because they tried to get through them and stuff. And there's a lot of different connective tissue between different things. It's not just this game was big, therefore it is nostalgia. So I think we tried to balance that with it being a physical device with a physical cart. You do get that kind of connection because we have a smaller amount of games available per cart. We also give you much more of a funnel into what the games are and the experience you had. And it's such a wide variety of what's available thanks to the leaps in technology that I think there is a little bit of something for everyone out of them.
Yeah,
Nice.
And I think with this ever-growing digital age, and in terms of emulation, like I had a handheld that just came through this morning. It's from a cheap company called Powkitty, and it's loaded with thousands of games. But like you said, there's no connection with this. There's no way of, sharing my experience with friends in a way, and I think that's what Evercade does really well in this digital age, is being able to trade games. Like, when was that's not really a thing anymore. People's got like digital, or games are like £70 a pop now, so I ain't giving or trading that to anyone. That's staying in my room. So I think there's a real magic with what you've created in a time where the nostalgic magic is fading a little bit.
It's definitely one of those things as well. I mean, like you're saying, like the cost of original hardware, the upkeep of original hardware, and the cost of living of everything right now means, do I want a 30-year-old device that's draining power at ridiculous rates compared to anything else? And you do have that kind of, I can just sit on the sofa with this, I can just play a couple of games, I can pull out a card, put another one in. I don't have to worry about like how many of these games are there. I don't have to decide which ones they are. I don't have to think that they're going to be 3 or 4 different versions of the same game hidden across different things and difficult menus and stuff. And I know that second to last part is actually something that's coming up quite a lot at the moment, that a lot of devices do have replicated libraries across all of them. So you're never really getting anything unique with a lot of devices nowadays. And I think the big thing about it as well, like Brandon was saying, you really love it. I think there's a lot of people that do, and having that community of people across the world that sort of saw it, latched onto it, and have really invested into it with their time. And I mean, you just need to go on YouTube and just type in Evercade to see how many people just post videos all the time about it. It's created its own. I'm not going to use the word cult, but it's got that kind of, I know about this feeling, that kind of zeitgeisty feeling about it. And, you can't engineer that. You can't like make that happen. That just happens. And I think that's been a wonderful thing that's helped us along the way.
Nice. So I think you touched on this a little bit at the very top. So when did, just really quickly, when did Evercade start? Like what year?
It started around about 2018. So
2018. Okay.
Blaze Entertainment, who is the company that make Evercade and does all the things, basically was reborn from a previous company. It had quite a long history in the video game industry, and we sort of brought it back and made some different devices under license for Atari and things like that. And one of the things that we wanted to do was to create a retro gaming handheld device, and that then became effectively what was Evercade around about late 2018, early 2019. Obviously, we got there, everything started, and then the pandemic happened, which delayed shipping of the unit, but it was all privately done. There was no crowdfunding, there was no community-driven funding or anything else like that, outside of just being able to pre-order the unit, which is something we still stick to now. We are not reliant on raising money from that kind of way, which is, I think, quite different to quite a lot of different things. Unless you're a big major publisher, there's a lot of stuff is crowdfunded or, again, funded through pre-orders. But now as we've grown, we kind of are less reliant on that. But at the start, it was very much, here's a thing, here's an idea, and just creating some interest and hype around it, really.
Okay. And so that kind of, you mentioned this just briefly. So I said in painstaking detail, you don't have to do this, but I am really curious how this works, because it's, I would imagine, probably one of the most difficult elements of working for Evercade, or at least making all the games kind of port onto the system. So I looked on your site. You have 400 plus games available, I think, now on the system, and that's usually through these collections. And you mentioned just a little bit ago, how many collections do you guys actually have, or like cartridges?
So we split the collections, and you are right with the word. It is painstaking. We split the collections into 3 unique things. When we first started, it was all a single colour and it was all console based. As we expanded to bring arcade titles to Evercade, we wanted to give that a different colour because we knew people would only buy the arcade games. And we didn't want them to get confused about what they were buying or anything else. And that's then transferred itself again to releasing home computers that they've got their own individual colour as well.
Right.
So we have at present, which that's including availables for pre-order, 29 carts with the red spine, so they're all console based.
Okay.
We have another 9 cartridges that are arcade based, so that's 38, and another 3 that are home computer based. So we're at 41 that are available to purchase now, and by the end of the year, that's going to be hitting 50.
That is awesome. So how does that look? So you have these awesome cartridges with games loaded on them. So how do you go about making a collection and getting the licensing and all that jazz? I don't know if you're involved in that as much, being the marketing manager, but I'm sure you have a hand.
We all kind of have a bit of a hand in it, yes, through contacts, through different people, and through different ideas that we bring to the table and the community bring to the table of what they want to see. Right. Sometimes it's very easy, that a deal is very easy to make in place because a lot of people with their intellectual property or IP will be set up to license it out. So people like Atari, people like Interplay, people like Namco are in a position where they do license their IP for certain things. So from that point of view, it's very much a discussion of finding the right person and then bringing that up and discussing the finance and details.
Right.
And then from that point, we decide what is actually possible to run. As in what requires a lot of work, what doesn't, what is a good thing to bring. Because we always try to bring something unique to the experience that you wouldn't get if you were getting it from another device. Because the last thing anybody wants is games that they can play a million different ways, a million different times. So we always try to bring something unique. Now, that can be good, that can be bad. It's all massively subjective when it comes to people's experience of gaming. And then the final thing is how do we make it simple and playable? We've managed to do 2 television collections. We've done Atari 2600. We've managed to do arcade. We've managed to do home computer, and all of that has been with the eye of how can you play this with D-pad and some buttons, because one of the problems with emulation at the moment is if you're going into those kind of difficult to control systems, you're not going to experience it. You're just going to bounce straight off of it, and unless you've got the knowledge and want, you're not going to get there. So, I mean, in television is a great example because the US know and love that console from their own history. They know about the controller. Europeans don't. So we have to really make it so simple for people to play that they can experience what the Americans loved about it without having to, learn what is this dial controller. And that goes the same way for home computers. How do you control something that doesn't have a mouse and keyboard and make it feel good? It's a tricky balance. We sort of factor all of this in and then come up with what we think is going to be the best outlook for either a cartridge or a number of cartridges within a license, and what we can bring to everybody that they're going to enjoy and is going to be good for everybody involved.
I think that leads on to our next question. Like, who is the Evercade for? And I feel like when I pick up the Evercade, I think anyone can play it within a minute or two. You could give this to a child and the menus are easy to understand. You could give it to someone that's never played, any kind of handheld console, and it's very pick up and play. It's easy to understand, especially with the cartridges. You just quite simply plug it in and play. And your user interface as well, it's phenomenal. Like, really well done on that. The amount of handhelds I consume that have different UIs, they're all just a bit of a clusterfuck, really. But you've nailed it on the head, and it's very, very sleek.
Our UI designer will have quite an inflated ego. He always, whenever there's anything that goes on and we have an interview or somebody does a review and he finds something good about the UI, he's like, "Yes, thank you. I would enjoy that." But no, it's that simplicity thing, and I mean, it's about product design, about design in general. Really, simplicity is underrated. You could have the most technically advanced thing in the world, but if you can't access it, it's not good. And sometimes turning it all the way down and just making it simple is just the best way, because then people use it, play it, connect it, and understand it and get it. And that's kind of what you're saying about children and things like that. I'm not entirely sure it was originally the intention, but we kind of knew who the retro gaming audience was going to be from a demographic, because it's quite easy to recognize that, and every kind of data that you can get will tell you. But because of the simplicity and because of the accessibility of just doing it, it does open itself up to people who are children who want to play something that's quick and easy to play, but doesn't have to deal with cloud, or you don't have to deal with worries about the content, because a lot of these games are very, very child friendly, because they were done in a time where it was impossible to do anything with dramatic violence or anything like that. So in some ways, there's always been like a free kind of tier audience. There's always been like an audience that it's there for the experience, the classic gaming experience that you have. For some people, it's there for the ability to play these games and collect. For a lot of people, that's actually been a really big thing, that a lot of people love to collect stuff. And with not just the retro gaming market, but a lot of things in general that are electronics based that you try to get, it's expensive. It can be difficult to maintain. So they've really latched onto the idea of this as a collectible as well. And then the final thing is it's really for anybody that wants to have fun playing games, because that's where it really drills down to, and that opens it up from what you would think is your stereotype in your mind of a retro gamer to a lot more people.
Yeah, and the handheld aspect of that, handhelds open it up to a whole wider audience, and I can imagine your Versus console is a very more specific demographic.
Yeah, very much so. I think one of the things that when we initially released the Evercade and what sort of brought the VS console to a lot more people was we kept everything in the games. We didn't edit out multiplayer. So if it was a 2-player game, you could play it 2-player. But obviously with the handheld being a solo experience mostly, you don't get the ability to do that. So the VS was very much born of people saying we want to play these games, and we wanted to give people a way to play those games.
Well, and one thing I wanted to mention really quickly too is the Evercade EXP, and I believe the original comes preloaded with, I think, 18 games is what it says on the site. So
the Evercade EXP, we had an opportunity to bring a big license in with Capcom, and again, back to the painstaking detail of licensing. Capcom are an existing publisher who publish their own games. They do their own thing. They create physical versions of their own games that they want to. So licensing their stuff to something to do is a very difficult thing to do, because you got to build trust with the license holder. You've got to explain what it is that you're doing. And it became quite apparent in the process that we weren't going to be able to bring this as a physical collection to people on a cartridge, because it just wasn't in the remit of being able to be done. And it was one of those where we look at the deal, it's like, oh, well, okay, how can we make this happen? Because for us, we are all about physical. There is an argument to say that built-in games is part of a nostalgic classic gaming experience, but we just wanted to bring good games to people, and we wanted to bring something that made obviously the FK DXP a unique device, but also wasn't the selling point of it. Because if you're selling it on the basis of those games, then it kind of really dilutes the entire message. So it was bonus content. Effectively, we basically created a bonus content of games that everybody loves, may well own on various different things anyway, but it gives them another new way to play them in an experience and a form factor that we know that people like, and really gets people who aren't able to experience those games or haven't been able to experience them before a new way to play them. And with some of the vertical things, because of the Tate mode that we've done, it gives people a new way to experience it.
Is that how you say it? Tate mode?
Yes.
Oh man,
What? I've been saying it wrong for years.
my dumb American self has just been saying Tate.
Yes.
Yep.
That is because
Tate mode.
You believe it is a contraction of the word rotate. And it is not. It is actually tate, which is part of the Japanese translation or word for vertical. But it's one of those things that's a bit of a Mandela effect, I think, by now, that it's kind of gone into everybody's subconscious of what it means. And I know there's several gaming YouTubers who will use the rotate.
Wow. That's great. That's really good. I was looking at the 18 games, and I mean, the fact that you have Mega Man 1, 2, and X, is it a 10 on there?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's perfect. I was like, dang, these are like, if I was going to start out with like my go-to retro, I mean, Bob Wolf, who was on the podcast a few episodes ago, he'd be very happy to know Mega Man X is on there because that was like one of his favorite games of all time. So that's great. And you have so many other good titles already loaded on there. So if someone wanted just to get started, this would be the great jumping in point. And then you're like, oh, there's collections I can add to this. Like, this is incredible, you know. And I think that's a great, I guess, just like step up. The next step from the Evercade, once you buy the device, someone looks at the content like, oh, I can buy all this.
That's one of the things that has really resonated after the release. That again may not have been something that we initially thought, but as soon as we realised, just jumped straight on that is. Part of the allure of Evercade and the way its library has gone is discoverability. It's finding things that you either may have heard about, didn't know exist, only hear through forums or anything else, or just things that you thought, oh, I've never given that the time of day on a new console with the collections because there's loads of other things I want to play. And that then translates into indie as well. So everything from your big IPs and people that had originally published to Capcom to Interplay and all of that, all the way to a lot of people whose games are difficult to discover just because of how wide and vast the indie space is. And, you know, we've been able to publish some of them ourselves as our dual cart collection that we've done in the past. So Xeno Crisis, Hours Awakening, Cathedral, which are all incredible, great games. But unless you know they're there, it's going to be very difficult to find them on a Switch eShop or a Steam library or something like that. And even all the way through to... people like Low Tech Games, Alistair Lowe for Flea and Tapeworm, who's absolutely incredible. And I think he's getting a lot of the success that he deserves now. But it's just getting people into Evercade and going, here, we're the vehicle for you here. You know, we can publish your game physically, which you might not be able to do, but we can also get your game in front of a lot of people who are into us and into this. And that then just promotes you. That promotes that game. People will buy it on your other platforms as well. You know, it sort of ends up with, like I say, with us being the vehicle to highlight a lot of these really, really cool games. And that goes to our digital feature with Game of the Month that we have now, where we give a game away for free every month and then replace it every month with a new game that's from this Indie Heroes line that we started. And then at the end of the year, we release it all physically on a cart.
Genius.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Genius. I love that.
Reeling them back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, the game of the month this month is quite related to your site, as it's called Donuts Dodo.
Oh, yeah, I want to play that one.
Yeah, so, I mean, if you have a VS or an EXP and you just update it, it's there. You can just play it.
Oh, yes, I'll have to try that. Got the EXP about. Lovely stuff.
Come on, Brandon.
That leads us on to, like, what would your dream game or collection be for the Evercade?
Everybody always asks me that, and I always say Outrun because it was always my favourite game. But yes, I mean, getting some of those licenses would be great. I think you know, being able to snag people like Sega, like Konami, and a lot of those people, because everybody remembers those games, and that's the thing that brings people to the dance. But then people discover everything else that's around it from that. But yeah, personally, I'm a massive Sega nut. I mean, you probably can't see in the frame, but you know, there's a lot of Sega consoles behind me and things like that. So I think a lot of those games that don't really get a lot of love or appreciation nowadays from Sega, so a lot of the early Master System stuff, a lot of the early first-party Mega Drive stuff, and would be great to bring to Evercade, even though a lot of people have played them before. I'd always...
Is that an issue with Sega or your end that they don't want to jump on?
I've always said, whenever anybody asks, can you have this collection, I will always say never, because one of the things about licensing and licensing the deals is it's not just about when we are ready to do it, it's when the other person is ready to do it. You know, there is a time in the negotiation and how everything works where the time is right for that deal to be made for the publisher, the time is right for that deal to be made for us, and you know, the two will come together. And you'd have to keep asking in order to make sure that happens, but you don't have to be like a pest about it or things like that. So it's all about sort of building that relationship and working out when the right time is for that to happen for everybody involved. So, I mean, with Capcom, for example, you know, that cartridge could happen in future because we've been able to do something that's brought them into Evercade as the fold. And that's how we look at a lot of things. You know, how can we bring people to this party that works for everybody? And a lot of it is just timing.
Yeah. Timing. Speaking of time, great, another great segue. Where do you see Evercade in 10 years? Like, what does Evercade look like in 10 years?
That's an interesting one because we're about to hit our 4th year, technically. So 2020 released, and so year 1, year 2, year 3, we're about to start year 4. This year, we're not producing any new Evercade hardware from the Evercade brand. So
that's one of our questions.
Yeah, we've been quite public about that because every year we've released a piece of hardware, and a lot of people who are already in the ecosystem are like, we want more games. And we're at this point where we're like, okay, yes, let's make more games, let's make more cards, let's bring this library tighter and closer and larger so that everybody that's jumping in has something to jump into. So, I mean, the next year is very much not going to be a hardware-focused year for Evercade. So, you know, in the next 10 years, there'll probably be more devices. There'll be more interesting takes on what we can do with Evercade in its form factor or what style it becomes. You know, there's, as we say, there's a lot of people that are arcade fans. Do we make a more arcade stick-like kind of experience or things like that? And what can we get in the licensing? What can we bring to people? I think one of the big things that retro game emulation and hardware at the moment is in a bit of a critical point is what is going to be possible with the hardware in 10 years' time. You know, a lot of people even now are pushing Nintendo 64 and pushing PlayStation Portable and Sega Saturn, a lot of those difficult to emulate devices, but they're nowhere near ready if you were to have that as a commercial product for public consumption. And I think a lot of work needs to be done in the processing, the tech, and also in some cases the emulation to a point where that becomes feasible. And again, in that 10-year period, that then could open up a lot of doors for licensing, for legal emulation and things like that. And again, who knows what's going to happen with the size of these things. I mean, as Brandon's reviewed so many of them, I mean, he'll probably agree that, you know, the handheld started at a size. They all got smaller. They all became much more smaller form factor. And the success of the Steam Deck has just made everything go bigger again.
Yeah. But then again, I think there's something for a mini handheld. You know, I've had a couple of them. People absolutely love them. You know, when a market goes one way, sometimes it's better to look somewhere else. And again, like Evercade, it's a success. You know, everyone's gone modern and digital where you've kept it retro and physical.
Yeah, there's definitely elements in there where I think because over the years of a lot of merchandising and a lot of intellectual property use and different things, there's always been something at various price points for various people's interest levels. And I think that as we get out of having been so digital, not really a digital rebellion, but I mean, a lot of people call it a digital diet now, where you kind of wean yourself off of being online and you wean yourself off of social media and a lot of these things to re-engage with the real world and physical and stuff to a certain degree. And I think that's going to be reflected in what comes to the market across computer gaming, video gaming as a whole. It's going to start really informing what I think a lot of the big publishers do. It's going to start informing what people like us do a lot more as we begin to learn what people's new patterns are going to be after the pandemic and after this.
And I think nostalgia is an incredibly powerful emotion, and it's what we've built our brands off, and it's what we're intending to do with Card Gamer. Like, even in the background, for those watching on video, I bought a vinyl player recently, and I love it. Even though like it's a more of an expensive purchase, there's some kind of connection with that vinyl now because I have to treat it well. I have to clean it, I have to, store it correctly, and it kind of gives you, it kind of makes you appreciate the purchase and the price rather than I just see the $59.99 on Nintendo Switch Online and I just click okay, and I don't know where that money's come from. It just kind of just goes,
and it's gone.
Yeah, so I think there's something in physical, and as you've seen, and I think it's only going to become more and more popular. Like with the Analog Pocket, that was purely cartridge focused at the start, and that sold an incredible amount. And that's where I think these little handheld devices that I'm reviewing, there's just no real bondage or magic with it at the moment.
It's a tricky thing because you can release a physical product, but as you're saying like that, you got to get it right. You got to get something about it right, and the vinyl comparison is something that gets given to us quite a lot through Evercade. I think even IGN might have probably said something similar, but it's very much being able to find what the connective tissue is between people's nostalgia and what you're able to bring them, and then half the battle after that is communicating. Not that people. From a marketing point of view, you want to go to people and say you want to buy this because that's your job to do, but also at the same time you want to get people to a point where they want to have it, and it's all about us showing this is what we do, this is what we've got, this is how easy it is to play, this is why it's beneficial to your memories and to your experiences. I mean, arcade especially, for people of my generation, arcade in the UK wasn't as big as it was in America, but all of our generations existed in the arcade. Everything we wanted to do at home was because of what we played in the arcade, whether it was a home computer conversion, console conversion, or anything. It was we went to the big shiny light place, put in our coins, had fun, wanted to come home and do the same again. And that's going to be different to a lot of people who are coming into the age of nostalgia now, because you have people that are PlayStation 1 sort of end of that era, beginning of PlayStation 2, Xbox, where a lot of it started becoming much more online play, and much more simple online play, and much more simple, easy to pick up deathmatch kind of style from your Halos and things like that.
Quake.
Exactly. Quake Free Arena on Dreamcast and things like that. So I think there's going to be an interesting turn of where nostalgia begins to hit. And we've had the last 15 years of team deathmatch first person shooters on the most recent consoles and some things. And one of the things that sort of has spun from that was Battle Royale, because people wanted that kind of experience that could have a big multiplayer experience, but wasn't necessarily needing to have a team of big people that you had to wait and rely on, deal with loadouts, deal with different things. And I think as that market expands, contracts, and expands and contracts, there's going to be something that comes for those people who are wanting to be able to play an online shooter game or an online game that they've experienced, but not have to deal with the Twitch reactions that you need in order to be successful at these games. And because that's what their experience was when they were younger. And I think that's then going to happen. And that's going to be interesting to see how the technology progresses with emulation and handhelds and everything as to how possible that can be.
Right.
That's so interesting, because I always try and think about the next upcoming trends. And I think you're bang on there with the old school, basic, simple multiplayer form factor. Like Quake. There was a game that came out recently that tried to replicate the original Halo multiplayer scene. It was free. It was on
Splitgate.
That's the one. That's the one. And that got pretty close, to be fair. But then all the
portal jumping,
the portal jumping, and the what they call it when you buy stuff online.
DLC.
DLC,
or microtransactions.
Yeah,
that's the one. Your skins just made it complicated. I think going back to the old school Call of Duty, Halo, Quake, Counter-Strike. Well, actually, Counter-Strike came out with
a recent update, because they're going Counter-Strike 2. But then that also goes into the earlier question that you asked us about who is Evercade for. When you're looking at this future, people have to realise who it is for. And a lot of marketing, one of the things that we don't do a lot of marketing on is Twitch. Because Twitch is not really a space for retro gaming. It's there. There's speedruns and stuff like that, but it's not really a place where it really exists unless it's somebody you specifically follow or you've come to because you watch the personality rather than the retro gaming.
Right.
And a lot of these games, that even if they are retro aesthetic, retro styled, retro things, take a very modern route of trying to find a modern person who is younger playing this game, and that's not the person who it's for, which means that their audience is possibly not the person who it is for. And it's about finding who this is for, and then finding the right people to say, you know, this is for me and I really enjoy it. I think you'll like it too.
Nice. I like that. Well, before we close out, Sean, and jump into the last topic, is there anything else we didn't mention that you might want to just throw out there?
So yeah, we've got some cartridges on pre-order at the moment. The first one that's one of the ones that's coming out is an Amiga-based collection from Team 17.
I saw that. Nice.
The first time that a cartridge-based version of Amiga stuff has ever been released legally. Is one of the first devices, certainly the first handheld device, to have legal emulation of Amiga. Because, I mean, a lot of your listeners may well know, but there's been a lot of legal mire around that console and those platforms for a long time that's now finished. And it's going to be the first time a lot of people can own or play a lot of these games that really defined a massive generation of people. I mean, that's one of the things from OLL this weekend that really surprised me, was how big and popular the Amiga was up in just this part of the world compared to where I was. I think Germany are very, very big on Amiga, and you know, in the US it's nothing because they had Commodore, and it's that kind of thing.
Like, I don't think I've really heard much talk about the Amiga. I know that it exists. I was just like, in terms of over here, Amiga was never really a thing.
So we have that coming at the end of May, and John, I'll announce it now. Go on, I'll give you an exclusive. Exclusive. Last year we did an anniversary show, which was where we announced the Evercade EXP and a few other things. We will be doing another show at the end of May with a lot of announcements for the rest of the year, which will be streamed live on YouTube, and hopefully some other people will be carrying it live as well. And we'll be announcing quite a lot of cool things, so stay tuned for that one.
Heard it there first, folks.
Thanks for that exclusive. Yeah, man. All right, well, last quick little segment. So what are you playing, or what are you looking forward to? So Sean, what are you playing right now that you're loving, or what are you looking forward to?
Well, I've actually just finished playing because I'm a glutton for punishment. I've just finished playing Link's Awakening DX on the Switch Online.
Very nice.
Because I loved the remaster, and it was my first experience of that game. I never really played them, and I did talk about that on the newsletter a while ago, that I was a Game Gear guy. I never really had a Game Boy or anything like this, so this has been my window, this new release of stuff, into a lot of these games that I missed, like the WarioWare games on the Advance and stuff. So, but yeah, that ending for that game just kills me every time, and I know I'm going to it, and I just don't want to. It's magical storytelling. But yeah, I'm really looking forward actually to playing some more of the games that we've got coming, which I can't talk about yet. But yeah, we've got a lot of good, interesting games that are coming that I'm really going to start getting my teeth into. And just because I am a bit of a strategy nerd, I'm really looking forward to Railway Empire 2, which is coming in a couple of months. And I'm just really intrigued by that, because I just like building railway empires. It's fun.
Nice.
It's the old
Brandon,
Sid Meier kind of strategy guy that I used to be when I was a PC gamer. So it's sort of like, as the more modern stuff comes, I'm trying that. See if it scratches the itch or not.
The never-ending itch.
Yeah.
How about you, Brandon? What are you playing? What are you dealing with right now?
Little bit of Pokemon. So I've dived into Pokemon Violet again. I'm like 70% the way through it. You know when you like get to that point of a game, you go, oh, I might as well just sink another 10 hours into it and like just get through to the end. So I'm trying that. I'm dabbing into a little bit of Pokemon Leaf Green. But in all honesty, I'm trying, for those watching on video, just testing out a bunch of new card games for cardgamer.com. There's some I've never heard of in my life. Like there's a One Piece card game. There's this one called My Hero Academia. And then there's stuff which I've heard of but never dived into, like Flesh and Blood. There's Warhammer stuff. Did you know there's a Marvel card game? Never ending.
So not Marvel Snap, but a physical Marvel game.
I found at my parents' house the other week, I found my old collection of the Star Trek Next Generation trading card game from probably about 94, 95, something like that.
Oh, nice.
Like a starter kit and some other extra bits that I'd sort of got on that. So I need to reclaim that at some point and go through it and see how to play that.
Could be worth some money, honestly.
It could be.
Hold on to that, yeah. Well, speaking of card games, I am playing so much Wild Frost right now. I don't know, Sean, if you've seen this game or not, but it's akin to like a Hearthstone or Slay the Spire because it's a roguelike. But it's so good, man. It's so hard. I am getting absolutely smoked.
I think they're coming out with an update soon that you can change the difficulty, which will certainly help me as well.
I might consider it. I got so close one time and made a fatal mistake on the very last boss, and I died, and I was like...
Because it sends you back, doesn't it? To like the start, which is
completely lost. Yeah, so devastated. And I'm really looking forward to Tears of the Kingdom, y'all. I don't know if you saw that trailer or not, but
I refused to buy it originally. When I first got my Switch, I was in San Francisco for GDC, and I was like, oh no, I'm not going to get it. I'm not going to get it. I'm not going to get it. And then the review came out while I was there. I was like, oh no, I have to get this, but nowhere's going to have it. It's pre-ordered up. It's all gone. It's terrible, and I'm never going to be able to get it. I thought, I'm in San Francisco. I'll go to a GameStop. And the queue for the GameStop was not only around the block, was also only people that pre-ordered. And I was like, I'm never going to get this, so I've missed the boat. I've missed the zeitgeist. I was really unhappy. And then I managed to look on my phone for an app that's now defunct called Amazon Prime Now, which used to be like a same-day shopping thing for groceries. And they had a Switch, and they had Breath of the Wild. And I was like, I don't care, I'm buying it. Got delivered in the UK to my address in the UK. Same day, like that afternoon.
Holy
and then when I got back from San Francisco, it was there waiting for me.
Wow.
I was so lucky. So I get the feeling like I'm probably going to have the same kind of, I'm not going to get Tears of the Kingdom. I'm not going to get it. I'm going to wait. I'll wait a little bit. And then it will hit 12th of May or whichever date it is. I'll be like, oh, I've just bought it, haven't I?
They've built such a game and such a good trailer that people... I feel like you can't not buy it. Like it's going to be, it's
which is exactly how we felt about Breath of the Wild when that first debuted in those trailers, and they did exactly the same thing. They knew when to really show everything, and I think that's a really key thing. Like with video game marketing in general, in this age of everybody shows everything, gives people preview bills, gets everything. There is the right time to show something.
Patience pays off. Well. Yeah, looking forward to that, but let's close it out here. So that is unfortunately all the time we have this week. Listeners, do you have an Evercade product? Are you thinking about picking one up after today's podcast? Let Sean know. Actually, let Sean know if you are, but also write into us. We'd love to hear your thoughts. You can write into Retrospect at retrododo.com or respond, like I mentioned at the top, to our polls on Spotify. Sean, thank you so much for joining us again. It's just been a pleasure to have you.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been very kind for you to invite me on. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Yeah. Where can folks find you on the internet?
Personally, everybody can find me anywhere on the internet under the name Cleaver Slips, all one word. It was one of those old nicknames that kind of just stuck in the internet generation. But for Evercade, you can literally just type Evercade into Google and find it quite easily. It's evercade.co.uk. And on every social media, so YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, experimenting, you'll find us at Evercade Retro, all one word.
Lovely.
Very nice. Brandon, where can folks find you?
Retro Dodo everywhere and anywhere. We're on TikTok too, as much as it pains me to be on there. Like, it's just so addicting. I have to pull myself away from it. But we're over there as well. Or at I am Brandon Saul, which is my personal Twitter if you want to talk to me personally.
If you want to put more of a name to a face, follow I am Brandon Saul. Yeah. And I am at Bitblogist on all the things. BITBLOGGIST. And until then, y'all, catch you in the next episode. Adios.